Okay, so here is e-cig vent test number 2. Yeah, I already did a bench test on this when all the components were just, sitting on my desk, and they worked there. So this is all of the components mounted onto the motherboard for my pack. For those that don't know, this is a Ghostbusters thing. This is trying to get the your Ghostbusters Proton packs to vent steam. This is what they did in the 2009 video game, and it was so badass and awesome that it really should have been done in like the first movie. But here, I already got the shell on this one, so I'll quickly explain. Like, what they did in the video game is that if you're running your pack, like shooting it for 15 seconds, a minute or whatever, they made it so that the pack will overheat and then steam will shoot out, which was really cool because it adds like an extra element, and it was kind of realistic. I mean, things high energy, tendency to get hot, and you need a way to cool them off. I changed the design of this. They had like a conical thing with a vent. I like this sexy, sleeker design, so I just cut it out like this, and yeah, there's a light on the side. This was a pack I did a few years ago with a different latex mold that I wasn't quite happy with. I was gonna put my vent on this, but I built a new pack shell over there, so I'm doing it on this pack instead. So yeah, and I already had a prior e-cig setup that I built for this, but I kind of burnt it out by accident, so this is an all new one. Pro tip, by the way, properly label your chemical juices. That way, when you've got similar looking chemicals with very different properties, you don't accidentally screw things up. I'll just give a quick run through of what I'm doing. There are a lot of prop builders out there, or suppliers or whatever, that will sell you a little smoke kit. I built my own from quasi-scratch. So, quickly flip this around. I went into a smoke shop, and I picked up an e-cig thing right here. So I wanted to keep this mounted on the external side so that I could look in this, so that I could look in the side and see how much juice I've got left in the system, and so that it would be easy to refill. I just have to disconnect this tube, flip this out, and then I can take my hypodermic needle and add more juice from there. So yeah, I just whip this out, hypodermic needle in, and squeeze right into there. No fuss, no muss. And my battery to change is right there. I gotta do something about my power supplies here, but later. That all makes everything run on my pack right now. So, but yeah, and so then it's all pumped. Now, one thing, I'm doing this one-handed. One thing that I've always been talking about is airflow. The amount of air that you got going through it is equivalent to the amount of smoke that you got coming out of it. I'm a stickler for it. Now, I wanted to do... Oh, crap, I left that on the desk. Just a sec. Just a quick thing right here. Yeah, this is the Spengler Wand that I modified. And so I wired a whole bunch of things up in here, and I've got them all coming out through the end here. This is my power supply cable, works fine. So I moved, normally the battery's in here. I moved that out to the pack, which clears up a lot of room to pass cables in through here. And all of my wiring I can take apart. So that's the power supply. And these are all of the communication cables. So I can unscrew all of this. So all the different features in here, I can run through 6 different wires, which then going into the pack comes out to this connector, so that some of this stuff I can mount to the shell. I'm going to put all my lights on the shell, and yeah. Now, if you're smart, you are going to write down on a piece of paper which wire is which wire does what. That way you can remember. Yeah, I lost that piece of paper. So now I've got to use my multimeter to try to remember which one's which. So one of these little wires is for my thermal vent button, and I'm gonna connect it. I just got to remember which one of these wires is that. So some of these wires are already connected, like my speaker wire and my power wires and stuff. So give me a minute. here I am. Now, I wanted to do a forced draft system. There are two ways to do air in any combustion system, and your e-cig thing is technically combustion. You're combining a fuel with oxygen, which is why air is important. Now, you can either put... I'll flip this back around again to explain what it is I'm talking about. Maybe I can lean it up. There we go. Lean it up like that. See? Better lighting too. Now, in this, air goes in the bottom and comes out through the top. And these are designed for people to suck on, and air will go in through the bottom. In power engineering for boilers, there are two kinds of airflow. There's forced draft on the inlet side and induced draft on the outlet. That makes differences in efficiency. I would like to have a forced draft system. I quickly cobbled this together so that I could feed air in. I did a test fit and I was getting some leakage. My glycerin was probably leaking through and coming right out of the tube. I think that's probably because I didn't have this ring sitting properly when I set it. If I shave this plastic down a bit more, I could probably get it to sit right. I'll worry about that later. Right now, I just got it to work. And so, yeah, right now this is induced draft like what everybody else is doing. So it's sucking the air in through and then tubing all around. So I'll probably get better combustion. Now, for this, I'm using a PC fan right in there. And I got a length of ABS tubing in, and of course 2 funnels in to tube it in right in through. The reason why I went like this is when I was running my tests, because I want to get my tubing to go in through here, I need the funnels, and when I had the funnel right up against the PVC fan, I think I was getting some Newtonian effects where the air was bouncing right off the walls of the tunnel and back in through. So I put in the ABS tubing just to give it some buffering room so that the pressure can go in through, and it works not so bad. Yeah, then I got the wires. Now I used the Spengler wire for the switch. As soon as I press the, did I say Spengler wire? I got the Spengler Wand. Whatever, I installed a switch on there, and so long as whenever you press the button on that, it makes a connection on going through. I got a double switch on here. As soon as I turn this switch on, this side turns on the power to the fan. This side takes the... what does this side do again? Yeah, this side turns on the ability to turn on the signal to the relay. So when you press the button on the wand, this will allow it to go through, and then it will send the signal up to the relay. So my wires from the wand connect up to right in there, and that connects up to the battery to there. So this wire will turn the switch in here, which will allow power to flow in through to my e-cig, which will run this to go through. And I've always got air running. Now, I just said that I had a PC fan in here. That's a way to do it, but it's not the best. I want to see if I can get a small mini blower motor in. Princess Auto normally has them in the blah, 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 blah. What's it? I had a 12-hour shift, so I'm not so good with my words right now. Princess Auto normally has them in the surplus section, but they were out at the time. So, yeah. As soon as blower motors have a slightly different design that uses centrifugal force instead of this, and it's much better real estate. I wanted to do 2 PC fans in here at one point, but with the amount of buffer room that's required, I probably would have to extend this, and I can barely fit this into the pack. So if I can, I'll be replacing this later with a blower motor, but this works on the bench. So yeah, and then of course, I put this controller wire in parallel to this. So I've got some electrical connections on here to turn the lights on in the pack. I got a light right over top because that's what they had in the video game. And so, yeah, so not only will my light, pressing the button activate the relay to turn on the e-cig, but it will also turn my lights on too. So just 1 second, let me get a shunt and we'll try this. All right, so I've got the shunt. Let's flick the switch and turn this on. This side will turn the fan on automatically. This side will let me turn on the relay when I press the button. And since the one's not hooked up, I have to use the shunt. Okay, the fan is running. It's making a clicking sound. Because I've moved this around and ripped it apart so many times, I've probably done a little bit of damage to the fan. But I'll replace this later anyway, so it at least will work right now. And I now have a way of knowing that the fan is running. So it is non-good fan damage is at least giving me a warning. Let me get my makeshift shunt. Okay. These two wires are connected to that relay thing that I talked about. The switch on my wand is what connects to this. Make the electrical connection. And yeah, that's a successful test. I'm getting a great deal of smoke. All right, let's connect this to the wand. Let's put the shell on this and see what it looks like. And yeah, that fan is gonna clear everything out. So my coil's in there. Oh, yeah. I ripped the circuit out of my e-cig thing so that I could do this manually. One tip is that you don't wanna run your e-cig coils for any more than 20 seconds or else it could overheat and melt your coil or destroy your coil. But I just have to remember not to press my button for any longer than that. If I ever program this with Arduino, that's going to have to be a timer that I program into it. That's just a little safety tip. Well, mechanical safety, whatever. You know what I mean. But yeah, see, now the smoke is already cleared out, and my fan is going to keep that cool. So, there we go. Now to put the shell on. Alright, so I've got the shell on now, and I noticed a few things. I think I've got a short in the system. So it happened once I had the wand connected again. This is a Spengler Wand that I've made some modifications to, like the handle grips, adding lights where they are. Funny thing is, I took the molding of a light that was right here. I made a silicone mold of it, and I cast it. So these two lights are both from the same cast, just added clear resin and a little bit of orange clear model paint to it. And I wired both of these lights into that thing, so this turns on. And then these turn on automatically. And I rewired this one so that this real switch will interrupt that. So that's a momentary switch. And my headcanon is that that's a capture stream light. So if you're shooting, it only makes sense. Like, you could probably wrangle around manually, but it only makes sense to give the stream a slight little surge for a capture stream. So I got that what that is. I need to put a sound effect in later, but yeah. And I rewired it so that the switch that was in here for mode select, I moved to right here. So yeah. That way it's just a flick of the wrist on the wand, flick of the wrist, and switch your buttons. Now that problem that I think I had is I also put a little switch in here, just another little momentary switch that sends a signal out, so that the switch is only connected when you press the button. I think that's where my short is, right in there, because I had to super glue the switch in the bottom in there, and I think maybe a little bit of the super glue got stuck inside the mechanics. It was sticking a little bit at first, but I thought it was fine. Except now my relay won't shut off. So if I open that up and change out my switch, it'll probably be fine. Thankfully, I have, let me move around. I have my emergency shut-off switch for the fan and everything. So, but I can still run a test by connecting the power up here and turning it on. Now the first one gives it a little bit to charge up, but yeah, then after that, it's actually pretty instantaneous. And the only problem is I can't do this too much without setting off the fire alarms. But yeah, not bad. Let me try it once more and see if I can get a better shot. Yeah, I think I'm also, now I was using the white blinking LED to control that. I still have to put a little buzzer in there. I'm gonna add in another constant white LED in parallel to that so that I have constant light coming out. And, but yeah, it's getting closer. Now, I think this will be the last video for a while because I gotta, or at least the last video regarding the pack for a while, because I still gotta work out how I'm doing the bumper mechanism. I've been working this out. I just welded together a few pieces. I gotta do the mounts and everything, so I'll get that. Oh, and I found the piece of paper that has my wiring connections. What wire does what. So, yay! Yes. And, I'm happy.